If you're not 100% satisfied with your current job, and if you want to live your true passion but don't know what you want to do, this video is for you. I was in your shoes, and it took me most of my adult life through 12 part-time jobs to find the answer. And today, I'll share what I've learned so that you don't have to take any detours and live to your fullest potential much faster than I did. I'll briefly go over the 12 part-time jobs I had over 15 years, their hourly pay, pros and cons, and finish with 4 lessons I learned from those experiences. So be patient and watch till the end. This video might change your life. Hi, I'm Prudence Zhu, CPA and financial planner. After 17 years of working and continued education, I finally found my true calling in life, something I'd happily focus on for the rest of my life, financial coaching and planning. And I'm here to inspire and empower you to build your financial foundation and live your dream life. So without further ado, let's start with the part-time jobs that led me to my passion. If the list makes you bored, you can skip it and directly watch the lessons learned in the end. My first part-time job was as an English tutor back in 2005 when I was a sophomore in college. I was paid 50 RMB per hour or $6 at the exchange rate back then. I served only one client, the son of a college professor couple. The required skill level was low. Any college student could have done it. Nevertheless, that experience built my confidence, social skills, and work ethic. However, the downside was that they lived far away from my campus and I had a long commute. My second part-time job was a translator for Chinese art, a well-established magazine published quarterly back then. Again, the pay was minimal, equating to $2 per hour for my work, and the required skill level was low because they wanted the translation in hard-to-read sentences, so it's clear to the readers that the articles were from abroad. This is substandard from a professional translator's perspective, but that's what the editor wanted. So I got an opportunity to publish my translations in a national magazine when I was still a junior, and it significantly boosted my confidence and sense of achievement. But the downside was the pay. As my English improved, I started interpreting for foreigners as a part-time job, primarily Europeans who were on business trips to China. I was paid 100 euros daily for simple events such as trade fairs and sales meetings. It continued to build my confidence and soft skills, and also travel was paid for. And I got to visit more than 10 cities and regions across China for free during those years, including Hong Kong. The downside was that I had no control over the timing of assignments, and I had to be absent from school to complete those jobs. Also, between 2007 and 2009, I was hired as a part-time manager for a small tourism company to run its operations. I was paid the equivalent of $5 per hour and paired more than 400 foreign visitors with bilingual local tour guides. It was my first exposure to entrepreneurship, and I really enjoyed it. However, the disadvantage was that the business development required to keep the venture alive took a lot of work and effort, and we were eventually pushed out of the market by much bigger players in the industry. Between 2009 and 2010, I graduated with a master's in applied linguistics and started to take more impactful assignments, such as providing simultaneous interpretation for big conferences and events. Some events would pay as high as 1,000 RMB or $145 per hour, and I got to meet highly accomplished professionals and I could travel for free. But on the lower end, more casual assignments would pay much less. Also, I had to take leave from work and maintain a good relationship with different event organizers and translation companies, who were only sometimes a pleasure to work with. Between 2010 and 2012, I was a consultant in West Africa during the day and translated for a snowboarding company in my free time. The pay for the side gig was decent, equated to $20 per hour. In addition, my work was published, my hours were flexible and remote, and most importantly, I became friends with Wang Lei, a top snowboarder in China at the time, and his wife. However, jobs that were both remote and I enjoyed doing were hard to come by. Then for a few years, I didn't take any part-time jobs since I was doing my MBA at the University of Notre Dame and transitioning to my first job in the US. In 2016, though, I took a week-long interpreter job and visited my family in China. It paid well, about $95 per hour, and I got to work with top economists researching industrial clusters in Hebei and Zhejiang provinces in China. But I had to use my limited vacation days, and fulfilling assignments like that were not easy to find. Also in 2016, my husband and I bought an owner-occupied multifamily home in Chicago and became landlords. We managed the property ourselves between 2016 and 2019, saving roughly $3,000 on the property management fee for about 25 hours of work a year. And that work would equate to $120 an hour. But of course, savings on a property management fee is only a tiny portion of the return. The total investment return was 25% over 4 years, and you can check it out in this video. It was still one of the highest paying part-time jobs I've had over the years, and I gained investment experience. However, it was stressful having to manage tenants and urgent repairs. Between 2016 to 2021, I also did part-time proofreading for Encyclopedia Britannica on their authorized Chinese publications for kids. It was great to work with one of my favorite publishers of all time, and the work was flexible and remote. However, the pay was far from glamorous at $27.5 per hour on average over the years. After becoming a mom in 2017, I accumulated a lot of baby stuff, and they were sitting idle as my son got older. So I became a provider for BabyQuip, a rental platform of baby equipment, in 2019 and 2020. On average, I got paid $25 for every hour I put in. It also gave me an excellent first-hand entrepreneurship experience. However, the investment in additional inventory and the stress of fulfilling last-minute orders made it not worth my time at the end of the day. And most recently, I taught an undergraduate class at Arizona State University as a faculty associate. Even though the pay wasn't great, I was grateful for the opportunity. After just one semester, my public speaking and teaching skills improved significantly, and I met other faculties and reinforced my professional network in the financial planning industry. But I realized that my time would be better spent spreading my knowledge to a broader audience than a selected group. Still, I greatly respect other passionate clinical professors on campus. Their experience and expertise are worth many times more in the industry. But they chose to teach simply to develop the next generation of talent, not for the money. The last one on the list is being a YouTuber, which I started in August 2022. And it is not paid, but instead costs me money every month because I'm outsourcing editing to focus on content and serving more clients. Thankfully, the challenge of doing things outside my comfort zone, fulfillment from learning a new field, and impact on a growing audience exceeded my expectations and kept me going. Your support and feedback means a lot to me, and if my videos inspired you to take action to build your financial freedom, all the effort and cost are worth it. So here's a summary of my past part-time jobs and their hourly pay. And since some of them were in foreign currencies, I converted them to US dollars at the average historical foreign exchange rate to make it more comparable. But FX is not a perfect measure since the purchasing power of RMB at the time in China versus the converted dollar in the US is different, which means I could buy a lot more things and hire more manpower in China than in the US with the same dollar amount. So I then tried the conversion using purchasing power parities, or PPP, to reflect the actual value of the pay. And since money is getting less valuable over time due to inflation, I adjusted using the Consumer Price Index to show the present value of the hourly wage of my past part-time jobs. We'll discuss what I learned based on the number in the last column, which is calculated by PPP and then adjusted for CPI. If you look at the hourly pay of my past part-time jobs, you'll notice that there is a significant increase in hourly wage from 2005 to 2016 because I constantly invested in myself, developed my expertise, and accumulated business experience. However, from 2016 to 2022, my hourly pay for side gigs significantly decreased because I focused more on things I was interested in and was selective about who I work with. That was also a period where I built a financial foundation that allowed me to start getting passive income and explore without much financial pressure in my free time. In the early years of my adult life, I focused on increasing my pay to build financial security. Then, money alone was no longer motivating, and I had to find the next thing that excited me, that made me jump out of bed and tackle the world every day. So here's my first lesson. You should always keep an eye on what motivates you. People get energy from different things at different times. Money, fame, power, love, world peace, you name it. But the important thing is to keep pursuing and learning. Taking a different perspective by grouping the jobs by skill level, you'd notice that generally, jobs that require medium skill levels pay much better than those with lower requirements. The only expectation is managing rental property, which I'll discuss in lesson 3. However, qualifying for a high-level job doesn't provide much higher pay, from my experience at least. On the other hand, the benefit was that I had more control over when to work, what I worked on, and who I worked with. So if your goal is to make the most money with the least amount of effort through working, medium-level jobs might be the sweet spot. Lesson 3, there's a massive premium for wise investments. And that's reflected by the fact that being a landlord or managing my own rental property, despite having little requirement on skill or experience, far outpaced any of my past part-time jobs in terms of hourly pay. And that's only a tiny portion of the reward. The capital gain is the actual and much more significant benefit. Not to mention the return of primarily passive retirement accounts and an actively managed brokerage account that would only take a few minutes a day. So don't work for money, invest and make money work for you. Instead, work to build your financial security, find what motivates you, and free up your time to do things that are truly valuable to you. And hopefully, it's good for the world too. And last but not least, finding passion is an iterative process. It has to overlap 3 things: what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and the impact you want to leave on this world. What worked for me was to find out what I was good at and make a good living. Then I explored different things to better understand what I enjoyed doing. I found a path where I could utilize my skills in ways that I wanted to create a lasting impact. For me, the cause is financial empowerment and social mobility, and I'm achieving it through financial coaching and planning. And that's how I found my passion through part-time jobs. To summarize, 4 lessons I learned from 12 part-time jobs are: first, keep an eye on what energizes you and learn a set of skills. Second, medium-level skills hit the sweet spot for effort versus pay. Third, don't work for money. Instead, work to build your financial security and make money work for you. Fourth, finding passion is a process to combine what you're good at, what you enjoy, and the impact you want to see. Separately, if you are curious about how to make the best use of full-time jobs to build your financial security, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a separate episode about career planning and income management. I hope today's episode inspired you to take action in finding and living your passion. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform under Invest with Prudence. Please subscribe to my channel to learn more tax and wealth strategies to build the life you want. See you next time.